Hello, and welcome to Nomadic Diaries, the re-entry series. I'm Doreen Cumberford, the host.
And I'm Linda Mueller, the co-host.
Hi, I'd like to say hi and welcome to my guest, Camilla Quintana, who is speaking to us today on the subject of repatriations and how they can be easy and how they can be difficult. Thank you so much for your time, your energy, your expertise. This is terrific. Thank you for your willingness to support people who are moving home all around the globe.
Yes, thank you, Doreen. Thank you for inviting me.
You told me recently that you've had 2 repatriations. Can you tell us a little bit about the background of those?
Right. First of all, I should mention that I am a person with a clear home base. I know not all expats have that, but I was actually born and raised until I was about 18 in the same place, which is Vienna, Austria. Even though my family was, multicultural and very globally minded and expats here and there as well. But I have this home base and I always wanted to move abroad. It was my big dream. And eventually, for university, I did. I went to the UK, followed by, postgraduate studies in Madrid and Spain. And I actually did not want to move back, but it was just things that were happening in my life where all of a sudden I felt forced to, in a way. I didn't find a job as I had expected. I broke up with a boyfriend and I was just feeling, this need for familiarity. It was kind of a situation where I didn't want to move, but I felt like, okay, I'm just going to give it a try. I'm just going to go back home for a while, right? That experience was actually really hard. And I remember the first year, I felt so different. I felt so isolated. I felt like, especially those university years, I had been so focused on just exploring who else I could be in this foreign environment, and very multicultural environment that I love to move in. Whereas my friends, they had just, been in a very different environment and lived a very more maybe conservative lifestyle.
Yes.
It was kind of a clash. So I felt like, these people, they have been my friends for, let's say 18 years, but I actually feel so different. And I don't know, sometimes I didn't know what to talk about with, with them. And also I know I felt very insecure in my interactions because I felt like I was playing a role. I didn't dare to be myself because I anticipated that being myself, the way I had been in the previous year while abroad, it wouldn't really fit in and it wouldn't be accepted. So for a whole year, it was really difficult.
So did you feel a bit muted, like a bit blanketed, that you couldn't express your entire self? Is that what you mean?
Yes, and so misunderstood, even by my own family. And yes, it was a weird situation. Being back, in your old environment when you've changed so much and you're kind of like a different person. You feel
Because
weird.
we're changed. I think the difference is we're changed at depth, but the outside does not necessarily, the outside of this meat suit that we wear as a body does not necessarily reflect that.
Right.
We don't wear, I tell people my heart has all these stamps of all these flags on it. If you could unzip you would see the Austrian flag and the Spanish flag and the British flag and all the flags that your heart has attached itself to.
Right.
But because we can't unzip each other, we don't see that, right?
Exactly. People don't know what you've been through and what your reality there. And they probably also don't care because they've always been at home. So very difficult to grasp. And that makes you feel even more isolated because you don't really have anyone that you can talk about this with and who would really, care.
Yeah, that's difficult. So tell me about number 2, please.
Yeah, so then I remained in Vienna for about 4 years. In that time, I met my Spanish husband, and when we got married, we moved away again. And at that time, I was very much adjusted, and I had a very, I was very well, and I had lots of friends and so forth. So we moved away again. And after a few years, we returned. Now, the difference, I believe, was that I had maintained in touch with the friends that I had again intensified my friendship with. I had
Yes.
very much stayed in touch, which in the first time abroad, I hadn't really done. So I guess I had this anchor to my home base through the
Yes.
people that really make it a home base also, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And I nurtured that bond. So
Mm.
that made it easy. That's the second time around. I knew exactly what I was getting myself into. Probably I didn't change as much as the first time simply because I was more mature and more grown up. So,
Yes.
your
Yes.
character doesn't change as much. But I really think it was about maintaining close contact. Also,
Mm.
technology changed. So now, the second time around, I had WhatsApp and I had video
Yes.
calls and all of that the first time around I didn't have. I remember, it was really it was really expensive to call home and it just wasn't
Yes.
possible.
Yes. I remember those days. Technology has made our life so much easier in terms of managing and keeping and nurturing our friendships and our support systems.
Absolutely. And
Excellent.
yet, even though it's so easy, I think sometimes we take it for granted and we don't check in. And I think that's
Yes.
maybe something that I would recommend, especially if there is a possibility for you ever moving back to your home base,
Mm-hmm.
is maintaining in contact as much as possible. Maybe even put it in your calendar every 2 weeks or every month. I'm going to call this friend or I'm going to write to her. Make an effort. Because
Yes.
usually, in my experience at least, I don't know what your experience is, it is the person that moved abroad that has to make more of an effort to stay in.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Always the
Unfortunately.
case. Yes. Takes a lot of effort expended. So that's one of your tips. So one of your tips is to maybe have small, constant touches, like once a month or something like a plate. If you want to spin it, you just give it a little bit of energy and it continues to go. Excellent.
Yeah.
What else? If somebody is in the middle, if one of our listeners is actually in the middle of the logistics, the planning, the move, the taking the kids out of school, the buying a new house, do you have any other tips for people who are moving a life? Because that's what you're doing. You're moving an entire life, the visible and the invisible. You're
Mm.
moving it home.
Yeah.
Do you have any other tips for people that they could use, please?
Yes, I think shifting your focus
Mm-hmm.
on the commonalities, for instance. So, in my experience, I believe the first time that I repatriated, I was so focused on the differences that made it really hard to overcome them. The second time around, I was more able to focus on the commonalities, and it is.
Yes.
I often say, there's not one reality. There are different realities that coexist, and you can either focus on that part or you can focus on the other. So even though it's hard, and even though you might not really want to do that,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
whenever you catch yourself, suffering from the
Yeah.
whole
Yeah.
repatriation process, which is a huge deal,
Sure.
trying to focus on the commonalities between you and the people, between you and the country, the upside, just making an effort. And I think, the key here is to make an effort to contrast your thinking, even if you don't really want to believe this right now and you don't really want to think this right now, but just by making the effort to contrast your negative or your critical thoughts about your home country, you are already training your brain to see different realities and to look at things
Yes.
differently,
Yes.
see different perspectives. And that is the prerequisite for then seeing an amazing opportunity that maybe now that you repatriated, you get that. Or
Yes.
a friend that you rediscover that you lost touch with, and now it feels like you have so much in common. Focusing on the pros and the commonalities, I think that can be really helpful.
Well, this is really great. So using technology to stay in touch and nurture friendships, and also shifting your focus to what you have in common and what is the positives about being home, I think is really important. Anything else?
And I think, and I guess that comes with a certain maturity and maybe even with age, but maturity of mind is to realize that you don't need to actually fit in so much. You can be perfectly the way you are, and you can own your experiences and your unique path, and you can bring that with you and tell people about it. I think sometimes we believe that we need to be like others, and the truth is that we don't. And I think the older we get and the better we know ourselves, the more we understand that it's not about fitting in. It's just about finding our way and contributing our uniqueness to the world.
Yeah, right? Absolutely. Well, this is wonderful. Thank you so much for this.
You're very welcome.
Tell us about your book. Tell us about your book first.
Right. Well, my book is called The Empowered Expat Woman, Your A to Z Guide to Thriving Wherever You Are. As the title suggests, it's an A to Z guide that really covers all kinds of topics. Actually, repatriation is not one of them. So people will have to use your book to learn more about that. But it's really about all kinds of challenges that you can encounter in your cross-border lifestyle. Not just challenges, also the opportunities. And it's filled with practical tools and heartfelt encouragement. And I think it's a great companion for your life across borders.
Oh, that's a wonderful way to put it. Well, thank you. And also thank you for mentioning sequel. And the title of my book changes still, but essentially it's sequel. It's building the life of your dreams after moving home from overseas with ease and grace.
Oh, nice. I like that. And I can see how valuable this guide is.
Yes. Both we have companion books coming out, so we can stay in touch through this.
Perfect.
Thank you for your time, and thank you for your expertise and the global-heartedness that you bring to your work, because this just connects all of our global-heartedness and allows us to fill in the gaps in order that our expatriate communities can be more loving and functional. Thank you, Camilla.
Thank you.